Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Right now, I will be introducing our very special guest in the studio. Today, we have with us in the studio Asim Adams Esquire. He's a legal practitioner and a human rights advocate, and also the convener of Lawyers Without Borders. Welcome, sir. We're so glad to have you in the studio.
Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Also, we have Dr. Henry Bassi, an educationist, a writer, public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. And also we have our very own Reverend Nze Nze right here with us in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much.
God
Good
bless
morning.
you. Amen. Thank you. So we'll be delving right into the first story that we have. The Independent and National Electoral Commission, INEC, has fixed February 21, 2026 for by-elections in the Ahoda East and Kana state constituencies of Rivers State. The decision was announced during INEC's extraordinary meeting on Monday, where the Commission also reviewed preparations for the Federal Capital Territory Area Council elections slated for the same date. INEC noted that Section 116 of the 1999 Constitution is amended, empowers it to conduct by-elections to fill vacant legislative seats. The Ahoda East seat became vacant following the resignation of its lawmaker, while the Kana seat was declared vacant after the death of its representative. The Speaker of the River State House of Assembly has formally notified INEC of both vacancies. I'm going to start with you, Reverend Nze. What do you make of this story?
Yeah, I think this is almost 2 years now since Honorable Edison here, representing Ahoda East Constituency 2, resigned from his office and took the office of Chief of Staff in the Government House of Rivers State. And over the years, we've called on INEC to conduct election in those vacant seats, both of that of Kana and the Ahoda Constituency 2. But INEC had kept their mute. Perhaps I will blame that to the, if I may say, legal torso and political crisis that bedeviled River State over time. You know, INEC could be waiting for the right person to listen to, because until law declares that it is either Okojumbo or Martin Samuel, that is the substantive Speaker, River State House of Assembly, INEC will be in jeopardy and not knowing which faction of the Assembly to respond to. But I know that Okojumbo had called for by-election into those offices, including the office of the Speaker, Martin Samuel, you know, when they were declared vacant after the purported defection to APC. And INEC kept their mute, and some of us shouted that INEC should respond adequately, in as much as we are not pushing them to go contrary to the law, but the law should give us clarity so we know how to go and where to touch. But thank God that finally Supreme Court had given a judgment, and the governor is bent on adhering strictly to the judgment of Supreme Court that authenticated the seat of Amoehule. Though that judgment put many of us in jeopardy, and even the future politicians and the citizens of River State who might defect to another political party and after a second thought say, I no defect again. Supreme Court has given a judgment, and that is a policy that most courts and judges will respond to. They will rely to when giving judgment on similar issues, that someone can defect from a party, and after, when he sees that that defection will not favor him, he can say, I didn't defect again, and he will return back. So that will be, we are watching to see that. And coming to Kana, representative that died, though, you know, we are mortals and subject to things like that, and nobody knows the very day his own time will come. We sympathize with people of Kana, but leaving that seat vacant for so long was a disservice to that constituency. And I cannot tell why people from that constituency have not staged a protest, you know, calling for INEC to respond to that, except for the fact that INEC will be saying that now that Martin Samuel Hiller has been declared the authentic speaker, Rivers State House of Assembly, we're now waiting for him to come up to say that these seats are declared vacant and INEC should conduct a by-election. So we've had that from INEC now. So everybody is warming up towards February, you know, for that election. It's a good one. Young men who think they can fill in that space should be bold enough to test their popularity. And if God blesses, the next thing I'm saying is that INEC should, you know, use this for us as a litmus test, you know, for 2027 general election. We want to see clarity. We want to see transparency. We want to see the rule of law being maintained. Not on the things we've seen in the local government elections here and there. Let every political party be given equal right. If it is on funding, whatever INEC should give to APC should also be given to Boot Party if they have candidates. And they should be given level playing ground to campaign and do their stuffs. And when people cast their vote, let their vote count. That even if it is that person you never expected that could emerge, that people say this is whom we want, let INEC declare that person. So that is my standpoint on that.
All right, Reverend Nze talked about having a free and fair election. So I would love to ask Barrister Asin, do you think INEC is putting, or rather should I say, what measures is INEC putting in place to ensure free, fair and peaceful elections on that day?
Well, thank you so much. I wouldn't say much about what preparations INEC is making at this point in time. I don't think it should be a problem to them, you know, for them to conduct elections, just one seat or two seats that are vacant in the House. So they are not doing that in the whole of Rivers State. It's just a section of Rivers State. So that should not pose any problem in terms of logistics, etc. But the problem we've had so far, which I am scared, you know, may rear its ugly head this time around in our elections, is that the interests of the people, you know, might be jeopardized by the interests of those godfathers who want a certain candidate to emerge on Saturday. You know, in the sense that as it is right now, the various political parties have to field their candidates. Now, and some of those people, the candidates that they are going to field, to the best of my knowledge, you know, from what I've been able to, you know, grab from the political lithosphere in Rivers State, is that there are those who are interested in who becomes the next rep, you know, from that particular area to fill that vacant seat. So that is where my own problem is. Are the votes of people going to count? That is number one. The interest of the oligarchs, the interest of the godfathers against the interest of the people, which will prevail on that particular Saturday. The third one is INEC should use this as a litmus test for other bigger elections that are coming. For instance, let them adhere to strict, you know, electioneering electoral act, you know, procedures of transmitting results electronically, you know, from the IREM or whatever to, you know, whatever to their database, etc., before the candidate is declared, as the case may be. There should be free and credible elections, you know, in this small space as it is. So it should be a litmus test for us to know whether INEC or RISEC or whoever that is conducting this is serious with election and electoral procedures in Nigeria here.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Dr. Henry. Considering the fact that these both elections are happening on the same day, what do you think is INEC's level of preparedness to, you know, conduct the Rivers State by-elections alongside the FCT Area Council elections on the same day?
Thank you. The law saddles that responsibility on the INEC. You know, if it were to be a local government election, it is a, you know, state independent electoral commissions that would do that. But since this has to do with the INEC, but for me, it's just two constituencies here in the state, and about 8 area councils in the FCT. So for me, it's not much. If you look at the constituencies we have in Nigeria, there are a lot. But this one is about a particular constituency here in the state and the area council of the FCT. For me, just like my two colleagues have said, that look, this is an ample opportunity for them to prove themselves to Nigerians. That, look, all what people have been saying, they have checked themselves and then also correct themselves to do the right thing. Because whether we like it or not, when we allow the will of the people through election to manifest, most of these complaints and the rest of it, for me, it will stop to barest minimum. But where we allow the political bourgeois, we allow the political godfathers, we allowed the interest of selected few to always overwhelm that of the people, and that will not stop the complaints or the yearnings of the people. So democracy is all about the people, and so when this is taken away from the people, the complaint will continue. So for me, INEC has chance right now to make sure that they rewrite their wrongs. It's just 2 constituencies in Rivers State and about 8 area councils of the Federal Capital Territory. So they have to put their logistics in order, put everything that will enable free, fair, and credible election on that day. And we wouldn't want to welcome any situation where they will come to tell Nigerians that we weren't ready and this and that. Things they used to tell us in time past. Nigerians will not listen to that. They should do the needful to ensure that the right candidate that wins that election emerge as the winner. No intrigues, no nothing. The wish of the people should be done in that election.
Thank you very much for your contribution on that story, sir. All right, so we move right next to the next story that we have. President Bola Tinubu has warned state governors that he will issue an executive order if they fail to implement the Supreme Court judgment granting financial autonomy to local government councils. He spoke at the APC National Executive Committee meeting in Abuja, insisting that local governments must be allowed to access and manage their funds independently. The president also reaffirmed his administration's commitment to state police, forest rangers, and ending terrorism, while cautioning that he would withhold assent from the proposed Central Gaming Bill 2025 if passed. He urged party leaders to uphold internal discipline, expand inclusiveness, and protect democracy. Vice President Kashim Shettima dismissed potential challenges to Tinubu's 2027 re-election bid, while APC governors passed a vote of confidence in the president, citing improved security measures, economic reforms, and stabilizing fuel prices. Tinubu is scheduled to visit Borno, Bauchi, and Lagos states for official engagement at end-of-year activities. I'll start with you, Barrister Sir. What do you make of the story, Barrister Sim?
Well, thank you. You see, the issue of local government autonomy has been there even before Tinubu administration came into power. And I'm very happy that they were able to take the bull by the horns by 2024, when the Supreme Court of Nigeria made that particular landmark judgment, amongst other judgments, on autonomy of local governments. Now, one of those issues came upon the Supreme Court by virtue of exercising its rights under Section 233 of the 1999 Constitution by way of original jurisdiction, because it was a constitutional matter between states and the local governments. Now, before the judgment of the Supreme Court, our Constitution recognizes local governments as the third tier of government in Nigeria. And I would say with due respect that is something that is, away from other crimes. Because Nigeria practices, federalism, as we call it. And under federalism, powers are shared between the federating units and the government at the center. That is the state and the federal government. But in this case, our own is unique, in the sense that the constitution of our country now recognizes a third tier, which means federal, state, then local government. So if that be it, what autonomy is saying is that if local governments, if state governments could operate without direct interference from the federal government, just as it is now, why won't the state government allow local governments to operate, independently, just the way, the federal government allows the state to operate with a semblance of independence? Now, this has been one of the landmark judgments that made me so very happy. Now, look at what that particular judgment is and what Tinubu is echoing again at this point in time. Number one is that by virtue of Section 287, Sub 1 of the 1999 Constitution, our, fourth earth origo, that is the source, that is the Constitution of Nigeria, says that every judgment, every ruling of the Supreme Court, being the highest court in the land, shall be obeyed. That is, must be obeyed. And that every institution and every individual, must enforce that particular, judgment of the Supreme Court. Now, in this case, he's not saying that as an institution, being the presidency, he has the right to enforce by virtue of Section 287 Sub 1 of the 1999 Constitution as the president to say, look, please obey this particular Supreme Court decision. If you don't do that, then I will have to go back and maybe issue executive orders, to those states that do not want to, implement, what the Supreme Court said. But that is a discourse another day, because I know that for Tinubu to say what to resort to the use of executive orders, the Supreme Court itself has even said that the use of executive orders by government, governors, even the president is an illegality. So I really don't know how that is going to happen. It's going to be very interesting times, as the case may be. Now, you look at the second aspect of it is that the Supreme Court judgment also demolishes and destroys, dismember, the contraption called state joint local government accounts. That was the phony, pipeline under which state governors used to do what now? Siphon funds meant for local government areas. Now, once the federal government pay, they now shift that money to the state joint local government account. The governor will sit on it and have decide which portion to give to local government A or B, as case may be. And invariably, what that happens is that he who pays the part takes its own. So they now invariably do what now? Put caretaker committees in some of the local governments. They just, by way of dissolve local government, install caretaker committees, planting their own stooges that will do their bidding and share the money, as the case may be. So Tinubu knows all these tricks that are being used. So he's not saying, please do this, let the monies get to the local government directly, and let the local government do their elections. Some of the states are conducting elections, local government very soon. Let the election be independent, as the case may be. And that is what should be. That is pure democracy for me, as the case may be. So I don't know why governors should still hold on. Like Oyo State challenge this particular decision in a verbose and very, a very funny manner, sarcastic manner. I was thinking that would have even led to the impeachment of the governor of Oyo State for even challenging, for trying to say that the decision of the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, is not something the state will obey because he has personal interest, which means he has now become the Gorgon Medusa of Nigerian politics and Oyo State, as the case may be. That is not something that is going to happen with Tinubu giving this directive right now. And that I want to encourage the president, and I want to tell governors of the states, this is Christmas period. Do not interfere, with how local governments are being run in your states. Let this local government have their monies directly, as case may be, and implement and use them the way they want to do. In Lagos State, I was telling my friend just now, local governments are very active in Lagos State. In other states of the federal, I don't know exactly what is happening. Local governments do roads. They build markets. They do internal roads in states and whatever. But in some states, I'm not seeing that happen. I begin to see a state, a situation where Obiakpo local government in River State, we come into estate A and begin to develop, build roads, repair the roads for us, bring pipe bore water for us, not waiting for Saint Fubara and the state government to come and do those for us in collaborations that are very close to us, as the case may be. So this is a situation that is Tinubu is trying to protect, and it's a good one for me, as case may be. I will rest my case there for the first time. I think that will be where I rest it now.
Thank you very much, sir. Reverend Nze, I saw you nodding in agreement to Barrister Asim's thoughts. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
You know, they are in our Barrister Asim is my very good brother from another state, but when it comes to opinions, we always differ.
That's right.
Yeah, very strongly. If you meet us on camera, you won't like us. But don't meet us outside the camera. You'll be surprised at what you see.
Yeah.
So, but while you saw my gesture, you know, was that most of the things he was pointing, he was coming from the legal angle. I'm not a lawyer, and though we are not completely ignorant of the law of the land, but I don't have that certificate to defend it, but he does. So, speaking on local government autonomy, it shocked me to my marrow that up till now, the state governors have not obeyed the Supreme Court order. You remember what expedited that action? Some of us who are laymen believed that it was based on interest. And that interest then, quote and unquote, was River State. You recall that in June, the tenure of the local government, elected local government chairman in River State elapsed. And the embattled faction of the River State House of Assembly under the Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Martins Chikamuele, you know, extended the tenure of local government by 6 months, you know, to keep the elected local government chairmen in power and their councillors. But the governor said no, he wasn't recognizing that House of Assembly except that of the faction led by Victor Okojumbo, Honorable Victor Okojumbo. So now it became a matter that the governor had to appoint caretaker committee into local government when this elected local government chairman's tenure elapsed, and they were ousted from the local government headquarters, and the caretaker committee were appointed by June. Then by July, this judgment came that no local government in Nigeria under caretaker committee will receive allocation. And some of us cried foul. In as much as what the Supreme Court was coming with was very okay. Many of us have been agitating for such. But now that they were giving this law, to me, too hasty, to make sure that the plan of the governor of Rivers State never worked. That was the way we were looking at it, because it is your business to dance on the stage. It is my personal business to look at you the way I like. If I like, I bend and look at you from the sideway. If I like, I keep my head straight. So the way I was looking at the judgment that was coming in then was from this angle. So, and it was passed. The governor struggled. And the RISIEC, under the leadership of retired Justice Adolfo Senebeli, you know, commenced a process for election, in local government election. And that election was done when the contestants or the candidates, especially from the PDP faction, discovered that there was going to be a discrepancy. There was a mass defection into APP. And the APP scored 100% in that election, you know, winning all except one local government that was won by another, which was a chair local government, was won by another political party. And before long, Supreme Court came up to give judgment on the judgment that James Omotosho had given at Federal High Court, that Martin Samuel remains the authentic speaker, Rivers State House of Assembly, you know. And everybody had been pushing on the governor to obey that judgment. Governor said, I have to exercise my rights. Let me go to the appeal court. And the appeal court upheld the judgment of Omotosho. He said, okay, let's go to the Supreme Court, which was his constitutional right, and all that. So a lot of people were actually shouting different. There was uproar here and there, and some of us insisted that the governor should be allowed to govern the state. irrespective of whose interest is being jeopardized. And to that extent, you saw that why this elected chairmen by Enebeli's Resek were trying to gather their feet, the Supreme Court judgment came that there was no government in Rivers State because the budget that was presented, appropriation bill that was presented to the Okojumbo led faction of assembly was not recognized. The Supreme Court said they were just a group of friends and things like that. So for that, because Amoyele's faction was not the one that, for that reason, since they didn't uphold that budget, the governor was running the state on his own, undemocratically. And that local government came to a halt. Now the governor said, okay, you chairmen, retire back. Let me settle with the assembly that have been authenticated by the Supreme Court. But the assembly never gave him that chance. I'm trying to draw this so that people who will jump into conclusion will be able to see where the thing was flowing from. That's why you see me going back memory lane, back to history. Now that the governor was trying to return back to the assembly wasn't giving him the chance. You know, there was this kick and back here and there, kick and forth rather, here and there, until when everybody saw that impeachment was imminent. And they were closely drawing fast to it. Thanks be to God, suspension was declared. In fact, state of emergency was declared, which I, in the owns, they stood against. Do you know why I was standing against? I know it will save the governor. But my interest is not just the governor. My interest is the society that is being governed. We are the people. We are the structure. We elected you to power. So our well-being should be paramount. You are declaring state of emergency in Rivers State. You have not declared in Zafra. You have not declared in Borno. You have not declared in Katsina. You have not declared in Niger. You have not declared in Benue. You have not declared, but in Rivers State. Why? I know that it will save the governor, but it will deal very decisively on governance in Rivers State. And that saved the governor as we thought. But look at how the end. Why did that interim government by what's his name, Ibas, was running? He brought in, he dropped everything about Enebeli's Resek and brought in another chairman who is not from the state. I don't care about where the man come from. After all, I'm not a Rivers State born indigenous, but I'm a citizen of Rivers State, having stayed here for so long. All my children were born here. My investments and businesses are thriving here in Rivers. So I'm contributing immensely in Rivers State. So I consider myself a citizen. So why I am making this point, when this man came out into power, you see that the interest of some people were presented. That at some point, before the election could come, you see some people who were card-carrying members of PDP, when notable PDP men walk into a hall, coming out with a PC flag. And the question is, Oga, when did you defect? What happened? Did you follow the process that the Amwehule group said they didn't follow? That they were testing the ground, and governor, lynched on it and began to drag them here and there. So now, at the end of the day, election was conducted. We observed the election. We watched everything. And so that very day, I think I told Laurentia sometime, I was playing football. I didn't go to vote. And it is my right either to vote or not to vote. So since I didn't see a candidate that I like, let them do their stuff. And after the election, APC got 20 local governments in Rivers State. From where? From the Blues, because interest was being served, not interest of the people. Just like my friend Barrister Asimadam had said that the election that is coming in February should favor the people and not selected interest. So now that that election was held and everywhere remained calm, 1 year, 6 months, this policy statement, policy judgment that was given by Supreme Court had not been obeyed till now. You know, it shocked me when I listen to the Mr. President, talking about it, that if you don't obey, I will issue executive. If they don't obey the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, is it, Mr. President, they will obey? Now, this thing worries me, that Mr. President is threatening executive order as against the disobedience to Supreme Court order. So, Mr. President and Supreme Court, who is superior? So you are now trying to make us believe that Supreme Court can be disobeyed, but you can't disobey me. Who says so? Are we a country governed by law, or are we a country governed by individual sentiment? Why has the governors not obeyed that? Why have the governors not obeyed that order? And why is the federal government still putting money into the joint account, local government state joint account? I remember that something happened in River State, that the CBN was asked not to remit money, not to drop FAC allocation to River State. It happened in this place, and we all saw it. The Supreme Court has given an order, and the governor is disobeying it, and federal government, CBN, and all other agencies that are saddled with responsibility of moving money to state are still moving money into state local government joint account. And Mr. President is coming here to tell me that he will issue executive order. Executive order for what?
Thank you.
So I think that violation of that Supreme Court order was as a result of the fact that the child they intended to catch, the fowl they intended to catch by gathering the rest of the fowl, have been caught. So for that, the givers of the law and the enforcers of the law relaxed. That is where I put it. But thanks be to God that Mr. Similar Efubara of River State is still surviving all those plots. So that judgment then was targeted at him, and God helped him to escape. So I call him a flexible cord that is stronger than iron.
Thank you very much.
So even if they plan more tomorrow, he will still escape. But now that he has escaped, and the same cord they threw caught other people, let the Mr. President, let CBN, let all other, even the National Assembly, now press on the rest of the governors to obey this local government autonomy rule by our policy court.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your contribution on that story. Before I move on to the next story, I would love to know, Dr. Henry, do you totally agree with Reverend Nze on this, or do you have an opposing thought?
I would just speak on three premises and the actions of the governors towards the local government, the domestication of this Supreme Court judgment, and the way forward. You see, there's what I tag as political strangulation and suffocation handed down by the Nigerian governors to the local government, which is, for me, it's a complete disobedience to the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria. My good friend here talks about the position of the Constitution, when it has to do with the local government administration. Why is it that we operate in this, constitutional, should I say, governance that recognizes federal government, state and local government? And it is only two that is recognized or try to be operational in this case. But when it comes to the local government, and you see the governors trying to play smart, trying to suffocate, and tomorrow the people will still complain, say, look, the local government administration is neither here nor there. But in a true sense, it is true. But how do we come out of this? He talks about, the executive orders that Mr. President threatens. It is unconstitutional in the first place for the president to even dream of issuing, executive order towards that. Supreme Court is the highest land, is the apex court. And once the ruling, a judgment is coming from such court, every Dick and Tom must obey. So does it mean that the governors of Nigeria is bigger than the Supreme Court? That is one. Two, I'm thinking so that this dance should stop. That the National Assembly, both House of Assembly, House of Reps and the Senate, should ensure that this ruling is completely domesticated in our constitution, adding to what we have already. Because it's like the local government to the governors is like, I don't know how to, it's like their children, they have given birth to. So they can rigmarole, control, do anything they want to do with them. And nobody's saying anything. It is because of these political intrigues and interest sometimes prompt or propel the president to be silent, of which for me is not good for us as a country who practices democracy. Because anything that goes against the principle of democracy, such should be justice, and then let the rule of law always take preeminence. And so for me, the president does not even need to threaten those who failed to abide by this Supreme Court ruling. Should, in fact, the state assemblies are there. What are they doing? Can't these people impeached? They are not bigger than the law. I'm telling you the truth. Can they impeached? I do know that to some extent, especially in Rivers State, where you see the State House of Assembly is trying to, overwhelm the government. So if the State Houses of Assembly operating in Nigeria knows their duty, some of these governors who tried to prevent the functionality of the local government administration supposed to have been sent them out, because it's a breach of the constitution. So if you operate as a federating unit in Nigeria and nobody interferes, the president, sometimes they don't even listen to the president, especially when the president is not a member of the political party. They don't even pay attention to. So how come the local government? So for me, it is a total neglect and disobedience of the judgment that comes from the highest land, the highest court of the land. So the president, in this case, don't even need to issue what do we call executive order. They should be compelled to respect the law, and if they fail, the various state houses of assembly should do the needful. It's an aberration. It's unheard of.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for your contributions on that story. So we'll move right next to the story that we have. It says Kabiru Turaki, led faction of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has approached the Federal High Court in Abuja seeking an order compelling the Inspector General of Police and the Nigeria Police Force to unseal and vacate the party's national secretariat and offices nationwide. The request is contained in a motion on notice seeking a mandatory injunction to remove all barricades at the PDP headquarters. The secretariat was sealed in November after clashes between rival PDP factions loyal to Turaki and a minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, over parallel meetings planned at the headquarters. Police intervention followed the confrontation, with tear gas fired and premises barricaded, preventing the Turaki-led National Working Committee from holding its inaugural meeting in the suit. The PDP and its newly elected leaders argued that the police action was unlawful, partisan, and carried out without a valid court order. They contend that the continued sealing of the offices has disrupted party administration and operations, urging the court to intervene in the interest of justice pending the determination of the case. So I would love to start with you, Barrister Asim. My question is, what is the legal basis of the Turaki-led faction's application, and how strong is its argument that the police acted without, lawful authority in sealing the PDP secretariat?
Well, I may not be privy to, the statement by Turaki, the man that is heading the PDP, going to court. But if you want to know about legality of the action of the Nigeria police,
yes, sir.
It's embedded in our constitution, section 214, under the Police Act 2022. Section 24, 4, etc. and so many other sections there, that the police is empowered, to protect lives and their properties. Now, whether they are doing that politically or, consciously or consciously, as the case may be, is now left under argument. But in that case, he who alleges must prove. He has to show that the sealing up of that particular premises was done illegally. That's number one. Number two is that if I may ask, I have seen situations where they have gone to share monies in hotels, politicians. Nobody complain about that. If the place has been sealed, can they go somewhere else and hold meetings, emergency meetings, where they can do their deliberations? Or does the party constitution say that it must be Wadata House, that the meetings must be held? That is number 2 for me. I believe when the offices or whatever the premises were sealed, then they should look for alternative venue. As far as the working committee or whatever they call them approves of that particular matter, they can sit and take their resolutions etc. as a party. You understand? Because if this closure and sealing of the PDP headquarters was politically motivated, then they'll have to wait for Godot to come. Or maybe they have to wait till Christ come before that place will be unsealed. If it was closed politically or sealed politically. These are my advice to them. The other one is that everybody has a right. Under section 46 of 1 of the 1999 Constitution, if you feel that your right has been breached, that particular section enables you to approach any of the federal high courts, to seek redress. And I think that is the right he is trying to, lash in on, to go to the federal high court and ask the police to go and unseal that particular headquarters. But lastly on this matter, the PDP has become a party of disgrace and a party of particular concern to many people who needed a viable and credible opposition in Nigeria here. I don't know whether they have been affected with the Greek goddess powers of confusion and strife. The Greek goddess Theodomos is the name of that goddess. Whenever it afflicts an entity, they can never settle. There will be strife and confusion. I think that is what PDP is suffering from right now. PDP used to be a giant political party that boasted that they rule Nigeria for close to 100 years. They stood tall as at that time in Behemothean, stature and psyche. But today, the PDP is working on spindle legs and distended stomach, ravaged by kwashoko. Now you have 2 fashions, because a house divided against itself can never stand. Assuming they are even able to get the court to give another to unseal, the moment they want to hold, the other faction will try and destabilize them again. So I believe PDP has become a problem to political parties. I wish the committee of political parties can just expel PDP from the political arena and say they should stop disturbing us, because they have become a ragtag army. An army that has become a source of worry, a wayward, it's just like a wayward child. When we see this happen on a daily basis, I mean coming here to waste my time to discuss issue of PDP that I know cannot even organize itself, having faction all over the place, giving vent to whatever to have come out to say. Some have said it's terrible that it's because, of course, the act of politicking has to do with lobbying and filibustering. You understand? Yes, in filibustering, even in the Congress, there are those who say they want to create confusion here on the opposition camp. Even in the biblical times, you see Israel will say, let's create confusion in that Babylonian midst of the army. They run helter skelter. So even if it's Tinubu or the APC that is doing that, it then means that they didn't have ideology before. That's why they're having all these problems. In football, I've said that, just like in politics, quacking is allowed. That is why you see, if you play ball, if you can cleverly use your finger to score a goal, and the referee did not see it, it's counted as goal. Maradona today became a World Cup winner because he ignorantly used his hand of God whatever to score a goal. He got it. You understand the point now? So, if the opposition party cannot put themselves together as PDP and blaming Tinubu for doing that, I want to tell them today that every party has the right to destabilize the other party, covertly or overtly as the case may be. That is politics as the case may be. And we must not begin to see this party. This, in fact, I'm praying that PDP should not even come back. Let another party take over PDP. Let them subsume their power into the viral Labour Party or ADC for us to have a credible opposition. If you want to rely on PDP right now, I don't think we have anything to say more than Turaki should just try, because this matter will get to Supreme Court. You win at the Federal High Court, Court of Appeal. Before you know it's election time. Can PDP go to election with this kind of tartar house? I don't think so. This boju kind of arrangement should stop in PDP. In my own opinion, we need a viral and credible opposition. But at last, let them approach the court. If they say the police did that illegally, the court is the only instrument and institutions that can unsee the place. So let them go and try their law.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. So, Reverend Nze, I would love to hear your thoughts, especially as education.
You know, angle of the emergence of Turaki, and that's the convention that produced Turaki, you know. By Federal High Court Abuja, and
barricaded the place. If the convention that produced Turaki is legit, until now, police is keeping that Wadata Plaza sealed. I think from my layman perspective, I would say that police is acting illegally. Perhaps they have interest, like someone who said that they are being partisan. Yes, they have interest. So for me, approaching the court is the only legal means Turaki can use. He won't use force against Nigerian police force. And he won't, take laws into his hands by, mobilizing thugs to go and do illegal things. So I think that approaching court is the best thing he can do. And he has done that. So we are believing and trusting that court will give them judgment.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for your contribution in that story. So lastly, Dr. Henry, what's your take on this story?
What is happening to PDP for me, I see it as self-inflicted thing.
Okay.
When you have too many crises at the same time, how do you intend to resolve this problem and fall back on track? And when you look at these problems that is rocking the People's Democratic Party as a political party, it's interconnected. And at some point in time, you see that when this problem is almost getting to an end, another one will resurrect somewhere, to reconnect back to where they were and even becoming worse. And I think what they should do as a political party, to bounce back on the main track of political scheming of this country, what they should do, see, when you have too many captains piloting a particular ship, there will be problems. I think that is the problem of PDP, where one person is trying to lord over everybody. The decision of the party must come from that person. And if the person does not say anything and somebody somewhere said something, that should not be taken. I think that is what PDP is. If PDP respects the rule that governs democracy and want to do the right thing, I know from what I'm saying now, those who believe in this cut and joined political thing that we are doing in this country, that's why we are not getting it right. You know the reason? You cannot build a house on a faulty foundation and you want that house to be strong. Never. That house will continue to have cracks everywhere. And so that is the problem here. So political party in Nigeria today, the way they operate is that it is built on one man. Whatever that man decides, that is what everybody should obey and abide. But when you look at what democracy entrenched, that shouldn't be. Democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So what the PDP is doing, and even what the APC is doing today, can someone boldly, in the eyes of democracy, says that what both parties are doing is democratically recognized? The answer is no. It is this bourgeois of a thing that cut and give me, take your own, let us go away. And you think that that will help us as a country to develop. It will not. Until we go back to what democracy is all about. Try to allow the principle of democracy to, take over the affairs of politics in Nigeria. If not, even the APC, when it will start, it will be like a bomb that is dropped in a marketplace. It will destroy a whole lot. But looking at what is happening, and somebody is asking whether the APC could have a hand in what is happening, that cannot be ruled out. It could be. My colleague is saying that in politics, that is, is acceptable, that whatever the other political party, but we should look at the principle of democracy. When we allow the principle of democracy, to take center stage. So the players in political parties should, respect that. But who in Nigeria can we boldly say that respect the principle of democracy? You hardly find one. But then, if they realize themselves and decide as a political party to bounce back, they can do it. But if they want to remain divided and think that will give them the ample opportunity, to be strong and vibrant as a political party, is self-deceit. Like I did say when I started, it is self-inflicted thing. If they want to resolve this matter, it wouldn't take long. They will resolve it. But because of the the ego of some persons that are involved, that led to some who has even departed from the political party, will still remain. Until they do the right thing, the problem will keep continuing.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. All right, the next story that we have, People's Redemption Party, PRP, has called for the impeachment of President Bola Tinubu if he is found guilty of altering tax laws passed by the National Assembly. The party accused the administration of executive misconduct and disregard for constitutional processes. The demand follows the decision of the House of Representatives to set up a 7-member ad hoc committee to investigate discrepancies between tax laws approved by lawmakers and the versions eventually gazetted. Lawmakers raised concerns that the published laws differed from what was debated and passed. In a statement by its national chairman, Falalu Bello, the PRP warned that any proof linking Tinubu to the alleged alterations should lead to immediate impeachment. The party also called for a full investigation, suspension of the disputed laws, and possible court action, insisting that no individual is above the law. Let me start with you, Reverend Nze. What's your take on this story?
Starting with, I think I discussed the tax law with some journalists earlier, and I had my standpoint that hearing the response from the presidency, this morning about the tax law, the accusation of the House of Reps by Dasuki, the truth is this. Let me start with the PRP. PRP is a registered and recognized political party in Nigeria. Therefore, its members are bona fide citizens of this country. They have right to speak. But we know that they don't have popularity. And the lack of popularity shouldn't in any way negate their constitutional rights. So coming up to say that if Tinubu is found wanting in the discrepancies bedeviling the tax law, surrounding the tax law, he should be impeached. They have rights. The minority should have their say, while the majority will have their way. Because how many PRPs in the House of Assembly? How many PRPs in the Senate? And do they have what it takes to lobby and influence the National Assembly to impeach Mr. President? So I see that as an exercise and also a means of bringing themselves to the fore, for Nigerians to see that they show concern. So I stand with them. I stand with them on that. Then secondly, looking at the discrepancies surrounding the tax law, the one that is in the public space and the one that is with Mr. President, according to the chairman of policy and all this, that spoke on behalf of the federal government. You see him, trying to deny the fact that what is in the public domain is not what the presidency has released. The question is, who released the one we are seeing? A lot of analysts have picked this tax law and are now educating Nigerians on behalf of federal government, what National Orientation Agency should be doing, what National Assembly and state assemblies should be doing, what other federal government agencies should be doing, individuals are now doing. And you've come out to say that what is in the public domain is not the original, which means you plan to deceive us. And this implementation is coming 8 days after now. And Nigerians do not know where they are standing. So for me, if following what the PRP has said, if the original tax law that was debated and discussed by National Assembly and passed over to Mr. President via the clerk of the House is not what is in the public domain, I suggest that federal government should suspend the implementation of the tax law and give Nigerians 6 months and educate us. Let every Dick and Harry, let every market woman, let every Nigerian that this tax law will fall back on know what tax law stands for, so that if it will be beneficial to us, we'll continue with it. Because I know that in 2027, the position of Mr. President now to continue as a president is not certain, it's not guaranteed, because other people will still come and contest. It is Nigerians that will decide who becomes, except if what happened in 2023 will still repeat itself in 2027, which I call blatant daytime rigging and stealing of people's mandate. So if that will happen again, then Mr. President will continue. But if it will not happen and Nigerians decide to vote in another person, this tax law you are rushing to implement, once another president comes, he can suspend it. Right. So why being in a haste? You were in a haste to remove subsidy, and 2 years, 3 years now coming, you have not shown us capacity. Nigeria is still borrowing. There, we have not seen roads, we have not seen development, we have not seen industries, we have not seen anything change by removing this subsidy. And you are still borrowing money, and you are still trying to impose tax law on us, tax law that we have not understood. What kind of government is this?
All right, thank you so much for your contribution to the story. Dr. Harry, I see you smiling. What's your take on the story?
Thank you. The alarm raised by Representative Dasuki from Sokoto State, because he was the one that raised this at the floor of the House of Representatives, that look, what the tax law that is being gazetted and in the purview of the presidency is not what the National Assembly passed. Okay. If not, everything would have just gone that way. So is it two or 3 days back, or last week to be precise, the House of Reps have, constituted an ad hoc committee to investigate. For me, what are they going to investigate? You have the original version of what you have passed into law. It's like a man, you have a mirror in your hand, X-raying yourself. You are still calling for something else. I mean, what else do you look for? That if what the presidency is trying to implement come 2026 is not what you passed into law. So what then do you do? You do this 14 days for me, they would have said, okay, let's go to the Senate. Please, let us see the harmonized version of this tax law. The House of Reps, please bring your own, let us see. And if what you have passed is not what is being gazetted, in fact, this is an impeachable offense by the for the president. Because it's a betrayal of trust by the people of Nigeria. That the House the National Assembly would pass a law, getting to your table, and everything is changed. And on the other hand, too, if the alarm raised by Representative Dasuki from Sokoto State is to indict the president, the law can take its course. I listened to one of whether the president done his position to the presidency, yesterday, specifically to say that allegation is neither here nor there. Imagine that. So does it mean that whatever the president says stands? Nigerians don't have a say on what concerns them directly. My friend here talks about the removal of subsidy. Do we feel the relevancy of that the subsidy that was removed? Do we feel the impact? Last administration borrowed a lot, and this administration has tripled it. So if you have removed subsidy and you claim that now the government have more money by the removal of that subsidy, so why go ahead to borrow more? Right. And plunge Nigeria into debt? So there is something they don't explain to Nigeria. And come to think of it, before a law is said to be implemented for the people to obey it, the people has to be educated on what these laws are. And that's the duty of National Orientation Agency, to educate Nigeria. And I want to believe that all local government areas in this country have office of NOA, as National Orientation Agency. All the local government of this country, all the 744 local government areas have it. So why can't they go to, just allow time for Nigerians to be educated on how these laws will be, the efficacy of this law, what this law will intend to achieve at the end of the day. Than saying that by 2026, January to be precise, hey, the law will kickstart, including these allocations. So for me, I am also in support of what the PRP is saying, that the law should be suspended for now. Put it on hold. Allow the investigation from all the groups to be completed before anything can be done. But if you force it on Nigerians, it will be injustice meted on Nigerians.
Thank you so much, sir. So lastly, because of time, before we call it today, let me just hear...
How many seconds? I discussed this matter yesterday. And the questions I asked yesterday, I'm going to repeat them today. Everybody deceiving themselves. The presidency, the Dasuki, National Assembly, they are all deceiving Nigerians. Why am I saying that? Honorable Dasuki, I put it again to you today. You are the one that brought this whole thing. Let me tell you. Lawyers who do forensic examination of issues say, show me your evidence.
Good.
You can't just come to the gallery. That was the reason why he spoke inside the house. Because he knows if tomorrow is found that what he said is a hoax and it's not true, you cannot arrest him. Because of parliamentary immunity. If you are very correct and sure of what you're saying, hold a press conference. Show us the one you have and the one you are comparing with, and this is what I have.
Good.
What has gone wrong with us? Even the journalists, by section 22 of the 1999 Constitution, the Nigerian media ought to hold government accountable, not just government, not just Tinubu, governors, House of Reps, House of Senate. What investigative journalism have they done? You don't just talk in vacuum. The man can end up at the day is misleading the whole Nigerians. What are we talking about? If you have this, whatever you have, bring your copy. Because all members of the House of Assembly or National Assembly have what they call the Hansard or whatever the case may be. Yes. All the laws they have, all the laws, even your contributions, your motions, they are recorded. You bring page 1 to page 1 to this is what I have. This is what is being circulated right now. Please, journalists, compare the two. Nobody is doing that. Okay, the National Assembly, as the case may be, the clerk of the House ought to give us even what this man, Senate President Okadigbo, when he was Senate President, the statements and motions he made, he has it on record. He can play them back. He can do what, even release those particular documents for people to peruse 10 years ago. Why was it difficult for the clerk of the House to release what was passed, to douse all these things? Then he told deceit. You know, the layer of deceit we have again is the presidency. What is difficult in Mr. President bringing out this is what was sent to us, this is what we are sent to. Please, you can compare and make your own findings. The whole country is just in jumbo mumbo. That was what happened, the electoral amendment. Section 84 was debated like this. Some came up with it and said that section 84, they amended it, that transmission of one thing like that. It created a lot of problems in the ecosystem. And nobody was able to get it right this at the end of the day. Later we found out and we started using the one we said that was the right one. The same thing is happening now. Because there are people who are against the tax laws. There are filibusters in the House who do not even want things to succeed for the administration of Tinubu, as case may be. Even Tinubu himself had lobbyists in the House. All of them aimed at cheating Nigerians. Why is this thing creating problems? We cannot, see, as I speak now, they will have a copy of what I'm talking about. Because it's just what they said. Hearsay, that's what we're talking about here. I dare say, let people show me the tax law that was signed, or the whatever that was signed, the one that was wrongly, where they removed those in section 1 was removed. So that I can do my comparison and make an objective analysis. Nobody is doing that. This is a country that is run on an iron curtain, whatever. And Nigerians have now become so ensnared and entrapped in this Stockholm syndrome, identity. The nation has become in a state of flux. Anything you put in the circle, people begin to debate, run helter-skelter. Nobody's saying anything. You say you want to impeach the president or whatever. See, they will qualify their statement. If he's found guilty, that's a qualitative statement. If he's found guilty, which means you have not even conclude, you have not even done whatever you're doing. So you have, I mean, so Nigeria, I don't know exactly. We have so many things we need to think about. Hunger, starvation, deprivation, stigmatization of Nigerian man. As it is now, nobody's talking about the house rent issue in Nigeria very high. These are distractions. The government should live up to its expectations and its billings, and let Nigerians know. And Nigerians do not participate in all this whatever perfidy, shibboleths that is being turned down. The man made an allegation, he ran away to his house. Give us proof. That is what I'm just trying to say with due respect.
Thank you, sir.
The confusion is too much.
Thank you so much. It was an amazing show today. This is where we wrap it up on the episode of Open Conversation. I beg your pardon. Once again, I want to thank all of our guests for being present. Thank you so much, Reverend Nze.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barrister Sim. Thank you so much for gracing our studio. Thank you so much for coming. We're open for sponsorship of the program, advert placements, news, events, coverage, and commercials. Watch us live on our website, www.atlanticnetwork.tv, on Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Evo TV platform, Niger TV, Ifa State TV platform. You can also connect with us in our 18 socials by subscribing, like, and share. Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, on Twitter, Atlantic TV Net. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you for watching.